But then you watch a game like tonight and LeBron kicked his ass. He's not ready to be a top 15 guy. But he really, really, really gives a shit about every game. It's great. I love it. This is a long, sustained offensive excellence that when you watch it feels legitimate. We're not going to be nice. What do we care? We're just these, let's call it what it is. We're live Sunday night, the Bill Simmons podcast. Cousin Sal say we're going to do Guess the Lines later. Right now, we're licking our wounds. Buffalo, Sal, all the way up to 8.5. Seemed like the easiest tease in the world. They had other ideas. We're both a little somber. Hate starting the podcast with somber energy, but Buffalo.
No, this is great because next week is after the Steelers Cowboys, so I expect things to be much different. But yeah, shit, man. I had them. You know, they hadn't lost by like double digits in like 20 months or something insane. I look back, and of course, I did enough losing that I'm like, all right, I'll put this with the Bills. I'll put this with the Bills plus 8. Yeah, listen, if there's a candidate running on the We Will Outlaw Teasers platform, I'll vote for you. I don't care whatever I thought before. I have to be done with it.
I've done 3 $1 million picks and I'm 0 for 3, and House and I joked about it, but now I'm mad. Now I'm just like, I'm going to keep doing this until one of them wins and then never do one of them again. But the thought process was, yeah, it'll probably be a 1-score game. Even if Buffalo's down 10-11 in the fourth quarter, you know, they'll be able to get the cheap touchdown, little backdoor action. Baltimore's defense has been letting that happen all year. Baltimore's defense was great tonight. I was really surprised. They were fast. They're chasing Allen around.
Yep.
They shut down the run. They were really into it. And it was a Sunday night and they showed up. They're 2-2. Their 2 losses are Likely's foot on the line in week 1 against Kansas City, and then blowing that stupid Raiders game, which will probably go down as the dumbest result of the year. But they were 0-2. We were wondering if they were even going to make the playoffs, and now they look great.
They look great. I was with you. I said these teams are evenly matched, and just like you, I was like this. They love blowing leads. Baltimore, as good as they looked against Dallas, they try to blow that lead. They didn't. Buffalo's going to stay within 1 score, but someone forgot to tell Derrick Henry, Bill. Yeah, now that was best pickup of the year, I guess. It has to be almost 200 yards rushing.
He has not lost one step. The 87-yard touchdown to start the game. It's weird because I don't want to say he's faster because he's probably not, but he does have, it's almost like watching a train that gets momentum. And it just seems like he's just has so much momentum. It's just going faster and faster and faster. He's not like Tyreek fast, but he does pull away from these dudes still, even after all these years, including Hamlin, who was, it felt like he was like, by the time that run was over, he was like 3 yards ahead of everybody.
I like I like the narrative. Wait till it gets cold and no one wants to tackle him thing. Not the third week in September, 4th week in September. He must be running with like an igloo in his chest. But yeah, it's not good. And everyone's like, it's personally, it's like, oh, Jerry's an effing cheapskate. You know, he didn't pay. I'm like, why don't we just pay Justice Hill? I would have taken Justice Hill at this point. Why we need Derrick Henry? God damn it.
Well, I have both Ravens on our keeper league, and it's gotten to the point where there might be certain matchups where you just start both of them. I don't know if how many times running backs have gotten to that, but it's like, I don't know. There might be games where the 2 of them combined can get to 200. My big takeaway from that game though, Sal, and this might be a rock, paper, scissors thing, and look, it could have been a bad night for Buffalo. I'm not willing to say it would happen every time, but Baltimore did seem bigger. Like, but I was a little worried about Buffalo's defense with Bernard out and Milano out. Their pass rush has been good. They've looked good when they've had leads, but when they were behind and they had to just kind of stop Henry and they had to stop Justice Hill, it just felt like the size of the 2 teams was a little different. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it definitely seemed. I saw the speed chasing Allen down. That was the first thing that jumped out at me, and the size and the fact that the middle was open for anything, whether it was a big run up the middle or just a pass. And everyone's like, "Well, that's the Bills' kryptonite." Like, really, the entire middle of the field? Like, yeah, that's the guts of their defense. I'm like, oh,
what wasn't their kryptonite?
Year. Yeah, right.
It seemed like every part of the field was their kryptonite.
Yeah.
So, I'm in this guillotine league this year that I told you about. I got roped in. I'm somebody's partner, and we had a terrible day today. Yeah, we had one of the best teams, but we had Brees Hall, who we'll talk about him later, but I mean, he was one of the first, second, or third pick in every fantasy league, and he's been a catastrophe. We
Mhm.
had that Carson Steele guy who fumbled on the first series and was never seen again. So all of a sudden, we're going into these Sunday night, Monday night games, and I have the Buffalo and a tease, but we also really need Lamar to do stuff. And
The
I'm just like, my head was spinning. These guillotine leagues are great. What a cool
best.
idea. I don't know why we didn't even know about these things
Tell
until the
everyone what it is. A
2020s.
lot of people don't know what it is.
So it's 18 weeks, 18
yeah.
teams, everybody drafts, and you start 9 players, at least in the one I'm in. It's
Hmm.
quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex, and a tight end, and that's it. So
No
you can
kicker.
have
Great. Beautiful.
2 awesome guys in your team can have a shit week, and all of a sudden you're going home. And the way they do it is the order is if you're 18th in week 1, you're out. And then everybody gets to draft your players. There's auctions. So now we're in week 4, and we're getting to the point where when guys get knocked, like if we get knocked out, which is very possible tomorrow, then we have Lamar, we have Brees Hall, like people will be bidding a
Hmm.
lot of their salary cap. But it's cool. So it's part expertise, but then it's part kind of dumb luck. And we
It's
have
the
Brees
best.
Hall in
Yeah.
this stupid Denver game where Bo Nix wins the game with 60 yards passing, which hasn't happened since
Yeah.
2007.
I'm in the same
Anyway,
sinking boat as you. With 15 teams left, it's like you need about 70, 75 points to win, but I'll need like
yeah.
40 out of Goff. But it's still the greatest. Try to
Yeah,
do
I
it with your
need
friends.
I need tomorrow I need Montgomery and and JSN on the Seahawks. And if I can get those two to get about 4, I basically need 3 touchdowns between them. It's not
You
looking
got
great.
it. You got it.
So I asked you, and this is a good time to do this. Let's pick the AFC and NFC title game matchups. I think we should do this every 4 weeks. What we
Okay.
think the matchups are going to be, including location of the game. We didn't compare notes, and I
Mhm.
had a lot of trouble doing this. But your AFC title game right now after week 4, and we'll pick this up again in week 8. Maybe we'll make a little clip after week 16 of our 4 choices. So this is after week 4.
That'll
AFC
be
title game
embarrassing.
is where? What city?
Okay, well, this isn't exactly fair because I feel like I need to see Tennessee play at least one more game, and we're
Fair.
doing this before the money. No,
They're
all right.
saying Levis had a great week of practice.
Really, everything was in sync for the first time.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. I don't know if this is why you're doing this because we're just coming off the Ravens game, and you're like, I had an idea. They're going to the Super Bowl. We're gonna make,
Mm.
and I did this last week, and I left my beloved Washington Commanders out of the playoffs, and then they won 2 great games in 6 days. I am sticking with my pick. Bills home for the Chiefs.
Bills home for the Chiefs.
Yes, I
Okay.
think the Ravens are about 10 or 15% better with Derrick Henry, but I still think they could do what they do. They'll lose a lead and blow it in January and whatever. September team is different from a January team. So, and we'll get into the Chiefs later, but they always seem to be there. And I like thinking that they'll make the final 2 in the AFC.
So before the game tonight, I had Buffalo at Kansas City.
Okay.
And then I got sent to the Moment Penitentiary, and they put me behind bars, and I became a prisoner. And now I
There you
have
go.
Baltimore, Kansas City.
Perfect.
Because I think Buffalo has lost like real stuff on defense. And
Yeah.
we've seen them with a lead, which is one thing, but when they had to be behind and actually get some stops and have to stop a bigger, more physical team, we see this every year and we always forget. And basketball is a little similar to this too, where teams that can look one way in the regular season, the playoffs, it can be a little different.
Right.
I just like the size of Baltimore a little bit more when we get to January. Now, we have the whole Lamar piece of it, which has not been solved in January yet, and why he hasn't been able to have success. But just in general, I like the feel of that team more. But we all know KC is going to go 14-3, but the point differential of those 14 wins will be,
Yeah.
like 40 points, and they're going to go into the playoffs, and they're going to get somehow a round 1 bye, and then in round 2 they're going to win by 2. And in the AFC title game, they'll win by 3. And in the Super Bowl, they'll come from behind and they'll win by 1. And they'll win 3 playoff games by 6 points and be our title team with Juju
Unbelievable.
Smith-Schuster and probably Henry Ruggs coming back. He's been pardoned to come back and be their number 2 receiver. Um, I
Uh,
That's what I got. Baltimore, KC.
All right. I just listen, we
NFC, what
can't
do you
do
got?
this. I know this is what we do with sports media. We're supposed to make a big deal out of these night games. They're supposed to be more important than, but if Baltimore loses to Cincinnati next week by double digits, then what are you going to do? You got to
Well,
keep
but
changing
it's
it.
process of elimination. It's nobody else in
I
the
know.
AFC West. It's nobody in the AFC South unless Houston can have a personality transplant. And it's not the Jets. So now we got to go into the AFC North, and it's either Pittsburgh or
All
it's
right. That's fine.
Baltimore. And from what we saw from Pittsburgh today, that was the first time I started to wonder if their defense
Yeah.
was a little bit of a rabbit in the 1500-meter race that all of a sudden starts fading a tiny bit because the Colts did a lot of things to them in that game to that made me
They
nervous.
did.
So
It
I think
wasn't
Baltimore
fair.
KC's safest bet. What do you
All
have for
right.
the NFC?
All right, NFC, I am again, I think sticking with my preseason pick. Don't love it as much. Lions host the San Francisco 49ers. Actually, they're not really hosting them. The game is going to be in Springfield, Ohio, because that city has taken so much shit, and I feel like they're going to pay the no, Lions home for 49ers.
Is it crazy to have say Minnesota at Detroit in the NFC title game?
No.
I'm still leaning toward the year from hell thing with the Niners, even though they won today. I don't know when we see McCaffrey again. They just they had two more injuries in the Pats game today, and I really like how that Minnesota team looks. And I know we're gonna talk about them later, but I'm a believer. I think especially maybe there's one or two moves they can make before the trade deadline, but I'm a believer. They're really well coached. That game was over. It was 28-0,
Mm-hmm.
and then that guy muffs a punt, and all of a sudden Green Bay gets this 28-7 where it looked like they were gonna lose 50-0. But I just thought Minnesota was dominant in that game, and they've answered a lot of questions. They have two really good receivers, including the best receiver in the league, who can just seem to get open over and over again. They can run the ball this year. Jones was really good today, and Darnold was good. And it's not I guess we're going to talk Minnesota right now, but it's not inconceivable to me that Darnold could get to an NFC title game because we've seen weird shit like that with quarterbacks that we kind of gave up on and then had these
Yeah.
comeback seasons or rejuvenation seasons or juvenation seasons. It's happened. It's happened a bunch of times.
It's so weird. I guess I have to shed the bias that this Minnesota team is similar to the Kirk Cousins Minnesota team that won every game by one score, and we didn't believe in them, even though they had
Yeah.
a incredible record, which this
Yeah,
Vikings
but
team would be
this
lucky to
team's
get
not
to.
that team. This
It's not
team's like
that.
going
I
up
know.
by 20.
They
They're
don't.
going
They
up by 20,
suffocate you. They
25.
don't give you a break. Like we
Yeah.
could talk about that game, but like maybe Jordan Love. First of all, that was a foregone conclusion with the public that Jordan Love's back. Vikings
Yeah.
need to take a step back. Jordan Love wasn't ready for like a quarter and a half, which usually should be okay. The
Yeah.
Vikings didn't let him in that game. I mean, I know the onside kick would have changed it at the end, but they're like, no, we're not going to give you a chance to catch up here and get your footing back. They kicked the crap out of them right away.
It was very similar to the Pittsburgh Kirk Cousins game in week 1, where somebody who was going from it had
Mm,
been a while before they'd been in a game like that to all of a sudden getting thrown into it. Love, I mean, he basically no preseason at all. Then he plays in Brazil in that stupid field and gets hurt.
yeah.
Right. And then he's sitting out. And then he comes back and he has to play that Minnesota team. I thought Pittsburgh had the best defense in the league, but it's Minnesota probably by a hair just because of all the turnovers. I mean, one of the things that jumped out today, almost like in basketball, when a team that has a really good defense is getting a lot of deflections and they're just touching the ball and balls are getting tipped out of bounds or they're blocking or they're getting steals. The
Mm,
Minnesota defense, I swear to God, they must have touched like 8 or 9 footballs that were just
yeah.
passes either they tipped or they almost intercepted or there was a deflection. I don't know if that's a stat if somebody keeps that, but it was just surreal how many times they touched the football.
Hands all over like the
Yeah,
49ers usually are with Fred Warner and everything. Yeah. All right. That's like
smothering.
too many basketball references 12
I'm
minutes into
sorry.
this, but it's
That's my
okay.
line. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a big
That's
trade
it.
this weekend. Now I'm starting
I
to
know. I
mentally
know. I
drift toward
hear
the NBA again. But yeah, Love looked rusty. The Packers couldn't cover. Alexander was out, so that really hurt them. They also had a
you.
bunch of drops. They got it from it was 28-0. All of a sudden it was 28-22.
Mm-hmm.
And my good friend Jeff Gallo, lifelong Minnesota fans, like I turned
Yeah.
it off. I can't watch. Like he's just
I
like all his
know.
Vikings DNA kicked in. But they had a pretty good drive where they trusted Darnold, and he actually It wasn't one of those like run the ball. Like he
Converted.
must have
Yeah.
thrown 5 or 6 times and converted some big plays. They got a field goal. One thing with the Packers that I think, I'm just gonna mark, like they still don't have a field goal kicker. Like they're gonna waive the dude from today. He missed, what did he miss, two?
Yeah.
Galveston?
It is more important than
They
ever
never
now.
seem like they have a kicker.
Yeah. I know. Who was the last
It-
good one?
during
Crosby?
the easiest time ever to kick a field goal. They still don't have one, but so they got to figure that out. And I still, talent standpoint, I think they're in the top four in the NFC, but there's some nitpick stuff you could definitely do
Do you
with them.
think Darnold? Okay, so if you have Minnesota, well, does that mean you have them like a top 2 seed if they're going, or they're going to pull some upsets if they're going to go to the finals, NFC
I have
finals?
them as the 5 seed,
Oh, really? Okay.
the highest wild card in my head. I think they can get to the highest wild card. That means they'll play, the worst division team, which will probably be the NFC East. Sorry.
No, you're
And
right.
then and then they win that, and then they would have to play whoever in the next one. I guess it would be
So
tough for them. So Detroit, if Detroit was the 1 seed, they'd probably have to play Detroit in round two if they were the
right,
five
that's how
seed.
it like if there was no
Yeah. So
upset.
my
So I'm
pick's
just trying
already
to see if
stupid.
if Darnold is properly placed at 11-1 for MVP, because everyone that's the thing everybody's bringing up here. I was like, well, listen, he has to be a top 1 or 2 seed to be considered there, but he's fifth on the list behind Lamar, Stroud, Allen, and Mahomes.
Wait, Lamar is the top guy on FanDuel
No,
right
sorry,
now?
I read it backwards. So Mahomes is the top
Oh,
guy plus 230. Josh Allen. I mean, we could discuss that too, Mahomes.
yeah, I
Like,
want to do that. Let's do that, and then we'll take a break. Mahomes plus 230. This is on FanDuel. Allen plus 320. Stroud plus 950.
yeah.
Lamar 10-1. Sam Darnold 11-1. And then the reason I want to talk about this, Purdy at 16-1, I think is a great bet. And I watched every play of that game today, the Niners Pats game, the second game in a row where he's really good.
It's
He's
really
he
nifty.
creates
Yep.
time and gets out of shit. He hits deep balls. They had 3 receivers today that had catches, I think, of like 38 or 40 yards or more. Every
Mm-hmm.
game, it's almost like they get a long play per quarter. And their whole philosophy of just run, 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 hit you deep, run, 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 hit you deep. And he throws the deep ball better than anybody in the league at this point. Plus, he can escape pressure and buy himself time. I think he's really good.
A great deep ball, maybe not like a rocket for an arm. I think that that's the one knock on him, but I think he's got amongst like the top 3 in field awareness for like when he's like rolling left, he
Yeah.
knows just before he's about to step out, and a lot of times can complete it. And I think those are the plays you're talking about, how he comes up looking pretty there. He's
He's
very good.
he's
What
just
was his odds?
shifty.
Yeah.
16-1. I think those are pretty good odds because you figure in the NFC, could San Francisco potentially get to a 1 seed or a 2 seed, which is where you have
Mm-hmm.
to get for NFL MVP. And
Right.
they obviously could, right? It's them or whoever comes out of the NFC North would be the two possibilities for the 1 seed. I think, there is still some year from hell potential from them with the injuries, though. That's been a problem.
Yeah.
But
I
Debo
don't
came
want to
back
say that.
sooner.
Yeah, I don't want to say all the injuries are behind them because they still don't have the best player in the league back, and I don't know that, but I do think they could win double-digit games without McCaffrey now, right? I don't think I
Oh,
would have thought
yeah.
that 2 weeks ago.
There's a lot of buzz that he might not be back. Like
Yeah,
it might be like December range. So if you have him on your fantasy team, I would just send the check to whoever your commissioner is. But
yeah,
at the same time, like Mason has been running the ball really well for them, right? They have
hmm
that whatever that system is, it doesn't seem to really totally matter who the running back is. They can always get yards. But then the fact that Jennings, who I think all of us have liked for a couple years and have always wondered why he didn't get more targets, he always seemed to make these big third down catches in big games. You're like,
crazy
oh, why didn't they throw
50-50
that guy
balls.
more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
But
right.
now they've elevated him, and it almost feels like he's become this year more important than Ayuk, who they just
Yeah,
paid.
I was gonna say like the trade-off is McCaffrey, but Ayuk is your third target, and you're still winning. Like they're doing okay. They're
He might even
surviving
be, you could argue he might be the fourth target this
after
year, just by the
Kittle
way
and
the games have
Samuel.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah,
after
yeah, maybe.
Debo and whatever. But regardless, Jennings' ascension, I think, has made the McCaffrey thing a lot a lot more palatable for them. All right, we're gonna take a break for the podcast and we're gonna stay here on YouTube and then we're gonna talk about the NFC East.
Oh yeah.
Coming back on YouTube right now. Okay. Um, this is what I typed under Washington Cardinals. God damn it, is Washington going to win the NFC East? I mean, there's 6 days. They've completely flipped it, and it feels like
Yeah.
that division's wide open. And it might be 9-8 might take it, but 10-7, I think, is definitely going to take it. They were so good today against Arizona. Arizona comes out, they score in the first drive. I had Arizona in the over as one of my bets.
Good.
Feeling great, just rooting for both sides. Washington comes back and scores. I'm like, this is great. The over is going to be so easy. And then every time Washington got the ball, they scored.
Yeah.
And it was, I think we saw their punter once. I think we've seen their punter once in 2 weeks. And it's so easy. The guys are open. Daniels doesn't miss. Did you see? He's 87 for 106 this season. He has 19 incompletions. Doesn't miss. And when he rolls out, he's faster and quicker than everybody. He looks like almost like faster Lamar. There's guys open everywhere. Their chemistry is great. And it looks like in the span of a week, they've completely reinvented themselves.
And he's so in control too. Like he's
So good.
not a spaz. There's running quarterbacks who are a little spastic and nervous. He is like, I know what I'm going to do. I know where I'm going to put the ball. Even his interception was like, oh man, I see what he was doing there. Really could have had that there. But he
Yeah.
is so solid converting third down. I have a friend who's a casual Cardinals fan, Arizona Cardinals fan. And I said, I texted him like, that might be the best offense you see all year. And he's like, go fuck yourself. I was like, no, I'm not taunting you. Yeah, I'm serious. That
Right.
might be the best. They punted once in like 2.5 weeks. It's crazy. So I don't know what to think of this. Like they should be favored in some of these games. We're going to go to this, but they are spectacular. And before the game, when the Eagles were losing and the Cowboys looked like crap, but won on Thursday, I was like, oh man, we might be able to take this division at 7-10. I'm like, nope.
Right.
Here come the Washington Commanders, who are going to hit double digits, it looks like.
I wanted so badly to pick them to win the division before the year, and I just couldn't get there. We talked about it on when we did our over-under pods because their defense just looked like it was going to be a sieve. It looked like they were going to have one of the 3 worst defenses in the league. That might still be the case, although they're pretty good today. I think when you look at how easy it is for them to get first downs, when Daniels never misses, when he can run around, when anytime he wants, it feels like he can get 7 yards. And then they're playing this Arizona defense that after today, they're 32nd in completion percentage for the other team, 78.6%. I kind of wish I had realized that before I picked this because there were just guys open everywhere. But there was another piece, and we didn't talk about it on the Sunday pregame show today that we did for YouTube TV and FanDuel.
Yeah.
The Kingsbury revenge game, I think, was a real thing.
Right.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that theorized anywhere? I actually didn't realize that it was a thing, but I think it was.
No, I didn't. All I know is my friend Harry from Against All Odds would check his garbage because he lived in the neighborhood and try to find like play sheets and stuff. And he still lives there. But other than that, I didn't hear much on it. That is a true story. Yeah.
Well, there was a clip. I mean, the best videos ever are the locker rooms after the NFL, after whatever win. And you get to see the guy and he's holding the ball up and he does a speech and then to this guy right here. And the whole locker room goes nuts. So Dan Quinn did it today and it must have dropped at like 11 or 12 F-bombs. I was really impressed. He must be like a real swear, but he was giving the ball to Cliff and he was like, this guy, we came back and whatever he did. And the locker room went crazy. So it seemed like they really like him, but I just like the vibes and the chemistry. House and I talked about it Thursday. There's a lot of like the way teammates are talking about Daniels. You kind of know it when you see the quotes. You're like, oh, this is happening. Like the other guys in the team are talking about us, especially. So
I think
there's something there. I certainly like their team better than your team.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like not counting the draft, Derrick Henry was the best pickup in the offseason. I think Cliff Kingsbury was second. You could maybe say Barkley was second. I think Kingsbury
He's
now
in the
over Barkley.
top 4, no question. Finishing last. Trying to think.
Whoever the Packers,
everyone the Patriots signed.
Yeah.
Hey,
that early slate was great. Let's give it up for the NFL. I mean, there was scoring.
I didn't have enough TVs. I had 6 games going, and I couldn't even get Jets Denver. That catastrophe of a offensive battle. Hey,
Quarterbacks with more than 40 yards at halftime throwing
I
is
know it
terrific.
was really fun,
Yeah.
and stuff where topsy-turvy stuff where you would take a game off and then it was like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I got to get the Vikings back on TV.
Right.
Um, two more Daniels things. One, we talked about it, and I think you took it in our futures draft. Daniels for offensive player of the year was six
I
to
did.
one, and Caleb was plus 120.
Rookie
And
did.
we had
Yep.
a lot of dialogue about how stupid it was. And I don't think I actually bet it in real life. And we were like, what's the difference between these two guys? Like what, like they seem to have equal chances to succeed. Their
Yeah.
talent is around the same. It's not inconceivable either guy could take off. And when you watch Caleb, and Caleb had some good throws today, had some bad ones, but he's also what 2 years younger than Jaden,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2.5 years. But Daniels just seems so much more polished than him. He just seems like a guy in his mid 20s.
I'm trying to compare him to Stroud at this point, a month in, right? So Stroud gave you the
Yeah,
confidence you wanted, betting on him and everything, and just
right.
looking at him as a quarterback. He may even have a little more confidence, just a little more. I know what I'm doing with this ball, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he was 6 to 1. I feel like a little bit of a trend here. It's like you don't go with the guy everyone's screaming about. Go with the second guy.
right.
For
His second or
offensive
third
rookie of
guy.
the year. That's kind of what happened the last couple of years, but
He's
we'll
got
see.
some good. He's got some good sideline confidence too. When they
Mm-hmm.
show him like coming at a commercial, there's always like a couple teammates around him. He always seems like he's in the middle of some story, and
Yeah, right.
he's got that swagger to him that QBs need. I was thinking, who has it better in the NFL right now than Jaden Daniels? Because he's playing well, his team loves him. He's obviously good. He's proving it, but he's doing it for this fan base
Mm-hmm.
that is probably the most grateful fan base of all the 32 fan bases to have a good quarterback. Is there any other fan base that would be like, I can't believe this is happening for us? Like, I have multiple Washington fans in my life, including two that came on the pod last week. And
Yeah.
both of them, that it's like watching people being afraid to talk during a no hitter about how well the pitcher's doing. Like they just can't get over it. What other team would have this dynamic? I get because somebody
Uh,
would say like the
yeah.
Bears. The Bears have never had a quarterback, but the
That's what I would
Bears,
say. That's the only one I
but
would say.
the Bears fans are like, we're never. I mean, it's like even if they had a quarterback, they'd be like, this is going to go bad. Like they would just assume,
Right,
Daniels will
right,
get hurt. But the
right.
Washington fans, they've actually had some Super Bowls and some success and with good quarterbacks, and
And a new
they
owner,
seem to
and
be
they can
grateful.
convince themselves that right, like this is
Yeah.
the ship is about to be righted. So yeah, he is in a very good spot. I hope he doesn't screw it up. I
Like
really
he could be
I'm trying to
that guy
think
could
who
be a
else.
legend in Washington, right?
Yeah.
This could
He
be like the guy in the
could be the next
Washington area.
David
This,
Chang. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Chang left
He
in
took off.
Pasadena. Yeah, he's in Pasadena. He doesn't care.
Jaden
Anyway,
Daniels gonna end up in Pasadena. You'll see.
well, the Eagles got slaughtered today, and that
That was
means
fun.
the NFC East division is looking like this. Philly is even odds. Dallas is plus 220, and Washington is plus 310.
Wow.
And that makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why is Philly even odds and Washington's plus 310? How does that make sense? They have the same number of wins, don't they? They both have two losses.
Philly's
They're
two
both
and
two and
two.
two.
Yeah. Yep. They're both 2 and 2.
And
Well,
the one team got it looked awesome and killed the Cardinals. Granted, the Cardinals might not be good. The other team has missing both receivers. Lane Johnson
mhm.
was hurt. Their quarterback has 7 turnovers this year. He's had 27 since last season, which leads the league. They gave up 29 first downs today to Baker Mayfield. This is the second time he's kicked their ass in 9 months. They're heading into a bye week, and I wouldn't be surprised if they fired their coach tomorrow. So why would they be the favorites in the NFC East?
So you would have them both at around like 160 plus
I
160
would
ish,
have all
160.
three of them, yeah, between minus 150, minus 190, something like that.
But
I wouldn't
yeah,
have anybody odds like that. Who's betting Philly right now? Who's like, hey, I just put 5 grand on Philly on FanDuel.
no, nobody. This is all based on who's traditionally there in December, who's left, right? And I think also people need to see the Commanders' defense a little more. Otherwise,
Sure.
it is just going to be back and forth
Well,
all
can I give
game
you
for
their
these
next
teams.
5 games? Because this is where it gets super interesting.
Washington or Philly? Why?
Washington.
Why? I know they have a night game against Philly. Yeah.
Next week they're home for Cleveland. Austin Gale had a tweet about how Cleveland's first 4 weeks are the worst
Mm,
4 weeks offensively EPA in the history of the franchise since they moved back.
right.
Think about how many awful quarterbacks they've had. This is the nadir of Cleveland offense. So they play them in week 5. They're at Baltimore in week 6, home Carolina week 7, home Chicago week 8, and they're at the Giants week 9. You could argue they're going to win 4 of those next 5.
That'll be
They might
fun.
be
And
favored in 4 of the next 5, right?
yeah,
They'll be
and
favored in
that
everything
that
but that Baltimore game.
well, and that's going to be a fun one, right? I mean, that's regional rights there, right there.
Yeah.
That's for turf. That's
Oh
a good
yeah.
one. Yeah, I mean, listen, when you the guy he's been being compared to Peyton Manning, Jaden Daniels is, and that offense is being compared to your team with like 2 points a drive or whatever it ends up being. It's just
Yeah.
insanity what we're seeing out of them.
On paper, it made sense in the summer, and I couldn't get there. But they had a bunch of draft picks. Like the recipe is a little like what happened with Houston last year, where you bring in a quarterback who changes it right away. You bring in a new coach
Yeah,
who's replacing a terrible coach. That happened. You have a bunch of draft picks that it's really hard to tell who's going to be good and not good. But sometimes a draft class can just be really good, and some
right.
things that you think aren't going to happen actually end up happening. So they fit a lot of their criteria, but I don't. I see the guys on defense, and I don't really totally understand how they're getting stops. Like Arizona got outscored 42-7 after they scored the first
I
touchdown. That
know.
doesn't make sense. And they were throttling them. Like they shut down Harrison. They were in my they rushed Murray the right way. Like he never was
Yeah.
comfortable. He was never kind of running around. And they never really got
And
momentum.
listen,
So
Daniels is I mean, 26 for 30. He's not going to do much better than that, but they had 216 on the ground, right? Like Brian
yeah.
Robinson's a stud now. Luke
Right. No,
McCaffrey
no
is fun to
Eckler, by the
watch.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Eckler, he's out. You know, Terry McLaurin is someone you could start in fantasy now.
Right. Well, Hench texted this to us. The
What's he say?
Mayfield, Darnold, Allen, Lamar class is suddenly historic. The 2018 QB class.
Yeah.
All those guys won. 3 of those guys won today. 2 of them
Jury's
played
out on
against each
Josh
other.
Rosen, though, right?
So it
Jury's
turns
still
out
out.
Josh Rosen maybe
Yeah.
kept it from being historic. But that's another weird thing is Baker was flinging the ball all over the place with and
Mm-hmm.
now that Godwin looks like Godwin again. It just felt like they had receivers open the whole game. So anyway, the
You know,
Eagles
I
look like
like
they're
that
in real trouble.
I like that we're talking up good quarterbacks, right? Lamar
Yeah.
and Jaden Daniels and Baker, who and I know they all can't be good, but I was going to say to you, like when Baker is on, and you kind of know early, does anyone really look better than him when he's
It's
on?
all like
When he's
7 to
throwing it,
10 yards. Yeah, he looks like
yeah,
2014 Brady. He's just like just
firing it
7 yard
in.
completions. Boom,
Evans or
boom,
Godwin
boom.
or whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the perfect place. Now I know all these quarterbacks can't be great, and they're not. So I'm sure we'll get to the rest.
I wonder maybe there's just certain teams that have to be an underdog.
Mhm.
Like Arizona was like, whoa, we're laying 3.5. Like this is a lot of pressure, guys. I don't
We're not
know.
ready for this. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if they're getting 8.5 in Detroit, suddenly
Yeah.
the chips off their shoulder.
Yeah.
Um, yet I I hate that I'm going to say this. I think the NFC South might be better than the NFC East. I thought the
Uh,
NFC South was going to be the worst division. They're not bad, man. All 3 of those teams can at least hang. New Orleans' offense looked way better today. Tampa's offense has looked good in 3 of the 4 games. Like they can move the ball. Carolina obviously isn't good, but it's not the dumpster fire that I thought it was going to be. So that might I
it's
might
yeah.
admit defeat on that call.
Can I just say that like I look at that. I'm so glad I don't have a bet on one of those teams to win it. And right now it would be Tampa, but I can't get close to that. They have a Thursday night game coming up. But with that New Orleans Atlanta game, first of all, wasn't it inevitable that New Orleans was going to lose by 2, getting 2.5? Like we could have told everyone that. Why didn't we tell everyone that? It's going to be
Well, it
26,
was
24.
1.5 all week, and
Yeah.
then that
And then
ended
went
at
to
the two
two
and
and
a
a half.
half, which
Like
was
there's going to
classic.
definitely fall on the margin there. But then if you're trying to pick a winner after like an hour, you're like, all right, Atlanta has points because their special teams got lucky. And
Yeah,
New Orleans has points because Taysom Hill is able to score by the goal line. And
right.
he's nowhere to be found now. So he's hurt. So good
Got
luck
hurt.
trying to figure those teams out. Yeah.
Yeah, Atlanta wins the game. They get touchdowns from their defense, interception return. They get a muff punt touchdown.
Terrible punt returns today. Terrible
A-
decisions. all
and they
day.
get a 58-yard field goal to win it. Their offense
Hmm.
scored one touchdown.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. The Saints, when they have Taysom Hill, they look like the most unstoppable offense in the league. It's like the
Hmm.
2024 tush push. They didn't have him last week. They couldn't score. They didn't have him
Yeah.
for the last three quarters today. They couldn't do anything.
They're lost by
Um,
the 5 yard line. They are like
yeah,
Carr's better from the 22 or something. Not great,
but
but better. Yeah.
they did go down the field and get the go
Hmm.
ahead touchdown with like what 2 minutes left. What I forget. There was so much
They
going
did.
on today. But they did get the go ahead, and then Atlanta was able to put together enough. I don't know what's going on with Atlanta's offense. Like I don't think Pitts had a catch today.
No,
Like I think
I
he
don't.
got a zero, and Bijan,
Three
who
targets.
actually
Yeah.
Bijan broke one long play and it got called back, but it's same
Hmm.
thing. Like he hasn't been that good either. So
Bijan, Brees Hall, you got to draft them 3 and 4. You're crazy if
yeah,
you don't draft them
got
third and fourth or
55,
second.
56 bucks.
Yeah, got to do it.
Well, we had in that guillotine league I mentioned, we had the first pick, and it was either
Yeah.
take McCaffrey and hope he's not really that hurt. Well, obviously that
Mhm.
would have been awful. Take Brees Hall, who we took. He's been bad. Or take Bijan. That wouldn't have worked out either. Who were we supposed to take? What was
No,
the right
I know.
move?
You're like,
Should we take a Justice Hill?
Jefferson's quarterback is Sam Darnold. Can't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Or if you're gonna go receiver, you'd be like, well, we'll take Tyreek. Tyreek
Tyreek.
lost
Yeah,
his quarterback in a game and a half.
right.
So
Yeah,
I don't know
fantasy
what the right move
sucks. No matter
was.
what you call it,
Fantasy's the
guillotine,
worst.
whatever you want to do. Yeah.
I actually the in our knockout league, I'm gonna go 0-4. This is
Really?
I there's not a lot of room for me to get better either. Like this is might be a lost
Wow.
season.
Can you pick
Yeah.
up Flacco? That's what the two quarterbacks. That's the Largemont League.
No, this is the
Oh,
knockout,
our
the
knockout
vote
league.
league.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got
I
you.
have
Oh no.
Dak Prescott. I have Kenneth Walker, who got hurt after week one. I have
Mhm.
ETN,
He's back.
who ETN was just not wearing shoulder pads during the first half of the game today, or whatever the
Yeah,
fuck was
right.
going on.
He's a tough guy.
I have Shaheed, who you kind of have to start every week, but he just might go 3 for 20. And then the week you don't start him, he has an 80-yard touchdown.
Right.
DJ Moore, who's trapped in that weird Bears offense. Garrett Wilson, one of the
Another
most
one.
disappointing guys in the
Gotta pick
league.
him fifth. Have to.
Brock Bowers, 19 receiving yards today. Boswell on the Steelers D. Caleb Williams on the bench. I have Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb. I have Cooper Cup, who lasted a week. I have
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings, who was on my bench. I'm
All
0
right.
and 4. I don't think I've
We
ever
get
been
it.
0 and
You're
4 in our
done.
league.
Got to run the
Oh,
table. Go
might be done.
winless and see if you can get kicked out.
I actually have for you the fantasy football panic all pros after week 4.
Nice.
Running backs, Brees, Bijan, and ETN, I think are the three. You
Okay.
might want to put Achan, but we'll see tomorrow. He might actually be good. Garrett Wilson has been, I think, the single most disappointing receiver, right? He was going for 40+ bucks in these auctions.
Yeah, well,
Or
I
would you
guess
go Devontae
Tyreek went
Adams?
closer. I mean, what do you
But
do with
Tyreek at least had
Tyreek?
one
I
good
know it's not
game.
his fault. Yeah. Okay.
Laporta and Pitts, co-winners for tight end.
Yep. Although, I mean, Mark Andrews is just
And
hilarious at
Mark
this point.
Andrews, that's another
Yeah.
good one. Mahomes?
Yeah.
Mahomes was being treated like he was not only QB1, but the guy, in one of our auctions, somebody spent like 27 bucks on him.
Yeah. He has not been an elite fantasy quarterback in
He's
quite some
not.
time now. And definitely not this year. I mean, wait, let me know when you're ready to talk about that game. And well, we could just talk about is it worth it? Should he be plus 230 for MVP? Because I
He should
guess if
not.
he brings this team that's just constantly injured to any sort of championship game or the playoffs, I guess that in itself should he should be eligible for top 3 or so. But plus 230, come on.
Let's hold Chiefs Chargers until after the break. I have one
All right, but don't
Cowboys
forget.
question. I won't.
Uh-oh.
I have one Cowboys question for you.
Yeah.
So Lawrence is out for how long?
I saw 6 to 8 weeks.
How long's Parsons out?
That's a more of a weekly thing, probably 1 to 3. And I know the schedule's not good coming up. Steelers, Lions, 49ers.
So you have
yeah.
week 5 at Pittsburgh, week 6 Detroit,
Yeah.
bye week at San Francisco, at Atlanta. I bolded this as the single hardest part of your schedule, basically. And this is when those two guys got hurt.
I'm looking way ahead, and this is the best I could do. And I know you
Looking way
counted
ahead to like
your
taking drugs.
taking drugs for sure, but I think we got to be like 5-5 after 10. I think I have to look at it like that and not like, oh boy, 2-5 is not going to be no way they're coming back because there's a chance Washington fall off. And I don't love what I'm seeing out of Philadelphia, and none of these teams have played each other yet. That's the best I could do, Simmons. I don't know. We're not very good. We could have lost that Giant game.
The
Anybody
Giants
else?
game was
Daniel
brutal.
Jones. It was really bad.
You really could have lost the Giants game. It was a weird Thursday nighter, but all right. Uh, time for a new segment. It's called Who's Delivering. It's presented by Uber Eats, where we break
Oh,
down the NFL players who have delivered so far this season, from household names to out of nowhere surprises. So we talked about
wow.
Jaden Daniels already, who's been the shiny new toy star of the 2024 season. We talked about Juwan Jennings, who's been the out of nowhere. I picked him up week 1 or week 2 in my fab auction, and now he's starting for me. Who else would you have as the people who have delivered? Derrick Henry's got to be up there, right?
Henry for sure, for sure. Can I pick a name that you wouldn't take in the first 2 rounds of fantasy, but is
Yeah, let's
delivered?
hear it.
Like Bucky Irving for Tampa Bay. You talk about like you add him to your roster, he might be the best Oregon Duck that was drafted this year. Bo Nix came back and won and everything, but I think he's fun. He had a touchdown called back like a man. They gave it to him. He had a I don't have his stats handy because I wasn't ready. And it's ironic that this Uber Eats, I think if there's one thing I spend more money on than gambling, it's Uber Eats. So congratulations to me and Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving's one of those names that easily could have been a PGA golfer, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like Bucky Irving's up 2 strokes heading into day 4 of the PGA. He could
yeah,
have been a NASCAR driver.
yeah.
I feel like what position in baseball would he have been?
Bucky Irving, shortstop, maybe.
He
Well,
like
I'm,
short
I'm,
or
I'm
like
thinking, I'm
a
thinking Bucky Dent probably
like a
is why it
reliever
stuck in my head. Yeah,
or like a catcher.
Buck
If
Irving would be a catcher. Yeah, Buck. Yeah.
could he have been a boxer, Bucky Irving?
Yeah, lighter weight boxer. Yeah.
And an old announcer, I think he could have been.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh man, Bucky Irving's doing the game
I think
today. I
so.
can't
Could have
believe it.
been
Can't believe
could have
he's
been
still doing football.
an Uber Eats delivery driver, I could
But
say.
he could have been.
Not this year though.
That was who's delivering, presented by Uber Eats. Get almost anything for game day only on Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. We're gonna take a quick break and then come back on the podcast. Staying here on YouTube. Okay, you wanted to talk Chiefs. I have Chiefs. Chiefs beat the Chargers 17-10. They upheld their part of the tease with the Bills that we all
Mm-hmm.
did. And then the Bills said, you're stupid. You shouldn't do teases. And they stuck it to
Right.
us. The big story. Rasheed Rice looks like he's out for the year. That's
Yeah.
the buzz.
Not
We're
good.
taping this Sunday night. If it turned out it's an MCL, but they seem to think it was a torn ACL. It was pretty grim. So they've lost Hollywood Brown,
Mhm.
seems like for the year. They've lost Rasheed Rice definitely for the year. Right as he was emerging as really not the best receiver Mahomes has had, but definitely the best receiver on this team. They also are missing Pacheco for
Yep.
half the season. So this game today, they end up beating the Chargers. They come back from 10-0. They're down to, they have rookie receiver Worthy. They have Zombie Kelsey and 3 waived guys that are out there. Smith Schuster, the Pats waived.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt was just on the bargain basement for weeks. And then who's the other one? There was one, the
Now I
other
get confused
receiver,
with who they
Smith
cut and who they.
Schuster. I'm blanking. Anyway, there were 3. There was another guy they picked up, Kareem
Watson,
Hunt.
Justin Watson,
No,
right?
I'm blanking now.
Sky
Maybe
Moore, they didn't even throw to him. I don't know.
maybe there's 2. Kareem Hunt.
That's,
Oh, P Ryan.
oh yeah, well he's a running back, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but those were their running backs, 2 guys
Mm-hmm.
that were on the waiver wire. So
Mm-hmm.
somehow it didn't matter. So they're 4-0, and they've scored less points every single week. 27 the first week, 26, 22, 17. I wonder if that's the first time that's ever happened.
It's insanity. It's an astounding 4-0. They have 10 wins by 61 points. They've won 10 straight by 61. That is very, very hard to do because one of those wins, you're laughing. One of those
Yeah.
wins has to be by 20 just by accident. You know, the team
Right.
gets sloppy. It's not the
So they
case.
haven't
10
lost since
wins.
that dumb Raiders game.
That was it. Yeah. And 10,
What was
including
that,
playoffs.
Christmas Eve?
10
We lost money on
Christmas.
that.
Yeah, one of the days. And they're 12-0 when they're down by exactly 10 points. Like they're like I don't know if he's bored, Mahomes. Like maybe he's bored with winning. It's like when a power lifter does like squats with a woman on his shoulders and the weight, or
Or like
like
when
if
Andre was wrestling three guys.
yeah, like a
Yeah, just give
handicap
me three
match.
guys. I'll beat all
Yeah,
of them. Yeah.
just
Mahomes
bang
is
their heads
handicap match.
together
Yeah.
for 5 minutes, like
Yeah.
Joey
Just give me three
Chestnut.
guys off the waiver wire.
Yeah,
Kelsey, don't break a sweat. And just
that's
give me
it.
that rookie who doesn't know our plays yet. Let's see if we can beat the Chargers.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut's adding relish to the hot dogs because it's everything's just too easy. But it got me thinking, and I asked you, I think you have answers for this. Is anyone in the history of sports better at winning close games than the Chiefs have been for the last few years? And it's not a knock on your Patriots because I don't think they fit this description. They had a bunch of blowouts in there. I know their first few Super Bowls were close, but this is a long time where the Chiefs and a lot of people point to the refs to help them out, and maybe they do sometimes. But this team knows how to win ugly, and they do it all the freaking time. I don't even know if there's a comp for this in any
Well,
sport.
that started this week with that Derwin James suspension. People are like, "Oh, of course he got suspended. He's playing the
Right.
Chiefs. Got to get him out
Yeah.
of there. Got to
Yeah.
help out the Chiefs." Um, well, you said the history, so you're framing it. It's a little get uppy, but I like it. It's a little Mike
Oh.
Greenberg historical hyperbole.
Oh,
But
sorry.
so the Mike
Mike
Greenberg
texted
specialty,
me. Mike texted me. He's like, run this by Simmons. So you busted me. Yeah, that's how it
historical
started. Yeah.
hyperbole with Mike Greenberg here on Get Up. I'm here with Ryan Clark. Um, no, but when I think of like you're basically the teams that just pull wins out of their
Awful
asses.
announcing. Simmons takes shot at Mike Greenberg. Here we go.
Simmons
Rips him.
rips Mike Greenberg.
Devours.
Tears into.
Obviously hated for
Cannibalizes.
years. Yeah,
Do those blogs have like 9 verbs that they use for that?
that's it. Yeah.
Annihilates. um, but the historical thing, I was thinking
You're gonna have a basketball team from 1981 or something. Yeah.
no. That 96 to like 01 Yankees team was like that for me.
Oh yeah.
Where it was like, fuck, it's 3-3, they're
Yeah.
gonna win. It's like
Right.
3-3 in the 8th inning. God damn, we're gonna lose. So that's like
good.
I think the Pats got there in the 03-04 run when they won the 26 straight. Like they won, if you go back, they won all those games were close somehow. They had no blowouts, even in the
No,
playoffs.
really?
Like,
Your division
oh yeah,
games?
there was a
You got
lot
rid
of
the
like
Jets and stuff. Yeah.
no, there was like no, I'm talking 03-04. Like some
Yeah.
of the Colts games.
Mhm.
They had that goal line stand against the Colts. That was a great win. The Eagles, the second Eagles, the Super Bowl, the Panthers
Mhm.
Super Bowl. All those games were close. They just figured out how to win at the end. So I
Well,
had them.
I
And
was
then
trying to
don't you
think.
think
Yeah.
Tiger was like that too, though? That was the other
I
one
was
thought of.
thinking Scheffler and Tiger, but he would run away with some of these tournaments too. I mean, he was a winner for sure. I was thinking maybe there's a boxer. I started looking up most
Well,
split
Holyfield
decision
was like
winners.
that.
He had a lot of
Holyfield
split
always used,
decisions.
he used to always sneak those out.
Manny had a bunch. Pacquiao, Jermaine Taylor had a few split decisions. Sugar Ray, and then I stopped looking. I was like, I'm not going to have an Uber
This
Eats.
is like too big of
comp
a
for that.
rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
I can't do this. Yeah. So
Yeah, Yankees. The Brady hit that point probably somewhere in the early 2010s.
no basketball, huh? I'm giving you a layup. No pun
Well,
intended.
the
To throw a
easiest one is
basketball team.
Jordan was like. I mean, Jordan was like this for the entire 90s. Felt like if it
Close
was
series. Every series.
no,
is
if it
4-2.
was
They
no,
won
but
in
if it was a
6.
close game, you just felt like he was going to pull it out.
All right.
You go back and
Yeah.
you look at like the Utah games in 97 and 98, like all of those games were close. The 91
Mhm.
finals felt like anytime it was close, he was just going to get it done. But the weird thing about Mahomes is they're less impressive than some of these other ones. Because I leave these Chiefs games, I'm like, oh my, how did they do that?
Right.
Like as they beat Baltimore because Isaiah Likely's foot was on the line by 2 inches, right?
Yeah.
That's not just them, how'd they pull it out, but that's kind of where the Yankees were for a while. We're like, oh my God. That line drive right to the third baseman, he scorched it. How does that always work out for them?
There's a little voodoo involved. Did I say he has 3 first quarter picks in a row, and they're still 4-0? That's hard.
The
to
one
pull
today
off.
was bad.
Yeah.
Didn't you think?
Yeah. He's doing
was
it on
bad.
purpose. He's challenging himself.
Well, one thing we got to give him credit for is their defense is has shown the ability over and over again to get stops in the
Hmm.
second half of these games, which they did
For
today. Now
sure.
they're doing against the Chargers that in the last 2.5 games, the Chargers scored 26 points and they were missing both of their tackles. They came out hot. They ran all their gimmicks and all their stuff they needed to do. But then once the game settled down, they couldn't really move the ball. And Herbert, who's been hit as hard as anybody in the league this season, it feels like,
Yeah.
especially the last 2 games. And, he kept standing in there. The Chiefs feel gettable this year, though. This would
Always
be the
do.
most, if they win this one, this would be because they're at the point that they usually are in December, January when we're ready to talk ourselves out of them. I'm there now with them. I have no idea how they're 4-0. And what are
But
they going to do with receivers?
I know, but but like, so what is my answer? So what if they go 10-7? They showed they could do it on the road last year. So now we have nowhere to turn at all with this team,
Well,
and they have
they
us
had
at their
that
mercy.
Carson Steele lasted a series. He fumbled two
Yeah.
straight games, so we'll never see him again. They're relying on Kareem Hunt, who really hasn't had a notable football moment in a couple years,
Hmm.
and P. Ryan. And that's, I guess, going to be their running game till Pacheco comes back. They're going to need to lean on Kelsey in the first part of the season, which I don't think they want to do because he's old. And then I don't know where they get their explosive plays from except for Worthy.
Well,
So
but if
maybe they
they're
do a
as good as
deal. Do
the
they try to trade?
they're okay. So if their defense isn't as good as the Steelers, but it's 80%, right?
Yeah.
85%. If you see what they're holding, so and their quarterback is much better than the Steelers. I don't even care what kind of weapons he has. So I don't know. January is a different story, but I don't count this team out of the playoff. No way. I don't care what kind of injuries they have, as long as
Well, we
Mahomes
both
is
have them
standing.
in the AFC title game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Can I change that? You talked me
Well,
out of it.
one thing that's going to help them is their division.
Sure. Yeah.
Chargers, Raiders, Denver.
Yeah.
You're going against Minshew and O'Connell. You're going against Bo Nix, who had 60 yards passing today. And you're going against this Chargers team. You already beat them once, so you just need to beat them one more time.
Yep.
So they might go 6-0 in their division.
Hmm.
And then they would have to go, what, 6-4 against everybody else? And
Yeah.
they've already had a couple wins. You mentioned Falcons Saints. So I guess we talked about them. We talked about Vikings Packers. We did not talk about Broncos Jets. I did not have that on TV. Did you watch that game? I
Yeah.
sacrificed that. There are too many good games.
I have a separate TV that can only show the national game. For some reason, that was the national game. I don't know why, but yeah, it was rain and quarterback was shaky, very beatable quarterback with negative passing yards well into the third quarter. And Robert Saleh said, I could do this. I could do this. I could blow it. I mean, we're making fun. Like Cortland Sutton had 7 more yards than Bo Nix, like in the third quarter. How the fuck did the Jets lose this game?
The Rodgers game was I put it on for I watched the last quarter and a half because switched TVs around.
Mhm.
They had 3rd and 5. All they needed was a first down to get closer, and they were going to kick a field goal and win the game. But they
Right.
couldn't complete the 3rd and 5, and it was over and over again. It seemed like they could either pressure Rodgers, or his throws were a little off, or he made the decision even before the ball was snapped. I'm taking 2 steps. I'm throwing it down the sideline to so and so. But I didn't think he was moving that well. And then he admitted
No.
after the game that his legs weren't good. It's not when you think about like some of the guys we watched today and how Rodgers used to move like Purdy, right? And he used to move like Jaden Daniels. He never moved like that, but he would always be able to buy time like some of these great guys. And he doesn't seem like he can do that anymore. So I don't know if he's hurt or old.
And
Aaron Rodgers, hurt or old? That's next.
ooh, that's good. That's good. Awful announcing is going to is going to promote that. I think maybe, yeah. And we see him running around the rain for years, right? And
Yeah.
love it. He was
He
great.
would have
But
loved a game like the game today. He would have had 4 touchdowns.
he just looked like a broken down man waiting for a train today. And I don't think a lot of it was his fault because he got
No.
pounded too. That defense showed up for Denver. But also you can't beat the fact that I text you every Sunday morning. I said the sucker tease, you and House and Hench, it's Jets Chiefs. And so that's such a strong force to overcome that no
Yeah.
one is able to do it. And I don't even have to ask a lot of people who I have to ask like 3 people what the sucker tease is. I don't need like FanDuel does thousands of people betting money is here. No, only 3 people tell me what the sucker
Cousin
tease is.
Sal annihilates the sucker tease. The Jets had 5 sacks, 10 penalties.
Wow.
and they were 4 for 17 on third down,
Yeah.
9 points total. We have not seen their offense look good for even two straight quarters, and now we're heading into October. And that, as a Brees Hall fantasy owner, it's not only that it's going badly, but it seems like the backup is kind of taking his job a little bit and is running the ball better than he is. This 20
Yeah.
year old, they put him in. It seems like they actually put him in when they want to win the game, and that's more concerning than ever. I was wondering, like, if this was basketball, we'd be like, is Brees Hall available? Could you see Brees Hall get traded? But we don't have football trades.
I
But
think like the worst thing about this is it's another team we can't really bet on, right? If you can't beat
no,
the Broncos at
no.
home when their quarterback has negative yards and well into the third quarter, who the hell is an easy pick for them? I thought everyone got a little crazy with the win over the Patriots. It's like, all right,
Yep.
that was one of the worst teams on a 3-day rest. They didn't look that great, the Jets against Tennessee. Let's wait a second. We didn't have to wait much longer than a second. It was 10 days later.
So they scored 19 against San Francisco. They scored 24 against Tennessee, and I think they got some sort of defensive
Late.
touchdown in that game,
Yeah.
right? They scored 24 against the Pats, and they scored 9 against Denver. I with Brees Hall and with Garrett Wilson, I was expecting a more explosive Jets team.
Yeah.
And I don't really fully understand it. Those guys were almost probably more fun to watch last year when they had the worst quarterbacks of all time.
Right.
And I was like, this is amazing. Imagine these guys, if they had a good quarterback. And now we're seeing them with, a guy who used to be a good quarterback, and it's not going that great. So Denver.
Are you annihilating Aaron Rodgers right now? I feel like you're annihilating him. Or are you pulverizing him? What are you doing?
What are some of the other words?
You fornicating? What are you doing to Aaron Rodgers right now?
I fornicated Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Texans, Jaguars. We got to talk about the Jaguars again. Although maybe should I just have them edit in last week's Jaguars conversation?
Yeah, no shit.
So the Texans win 24-20. Classic Jags. They're up 2017 in the third quarter, and it actually looks like they're going to win. Texans just look a little discombobulated. The Jags, they've missed 2 long touchdowns because Lawrence missed Kirk. He missed Brian Thomas, and they're still winning. And Lawrence, just every game, he's just going to miss somebody for a 50-yard touchdown.
And they scored
First
and it
and
was
goal.
called back. Yeah. Oh, is this what?
First and goal from the 4.
Yep. Good.
They get stopped on downs. They try to run the QB draw on 4th down with Lawrence that
Yeah.
I got to say works 97% of the time at all levels of professional football. They try it with Lawrence, and 2 guys are right there, and one guy does like the Roman Reigns spear and just kills him. So they lose the ball on downs in the 4th quarter. Punt. And then Houston has a 69-yard drive in the last 3 minutes to win the game, and Jacksonville loses again. They're 0-4. And honestly, I watched all 4 of the games, and they could have won 3.
Yeah. I know it. This was my upset special. It was my upset special last week against Buffalo too. I think they scored, right? They went ahead for a second, 27
Yeah.
17. And
2017,
then
and then they had
back.
the ball first to goal from the 4. They
Yeah,
were up 3.
son of a bitch. I don't know what to think anymore. I guess this is Houston's division for sure. These South divisions, I swear, I'm so glad I'm not locked into a team. This is like watching a slap fight. Like, I don't want any part of this crap. I really don't. I'm just glad I'm not one of these guys isn't me with the powder flying everywhere. But I mean, Doug Peterson, do you give him one more game? Because now you're closing in on 10 straight losses. Like, the Colts would be 10 losses if they did this. Like, if you're Doug Peterson, do you get your passport renewed for London or don't even bother?
Yeah. So when are the London games?
Well, there's one this week.
Next week.
There's one this week.
But don't they have 2 in a row? Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they have like
they're home for Indianapolis,
next 6 or something. Yeah,
home for Indianapolis, then Chicago and the Pats in London.
Yeah,
week 6, week 7.
Right. Does he
get on the plane?
Not if he loses to the Colts. I'm calling it now, Bill. He loses to the Colts. You just stay home.
Cousin Sal eviscerates Doug Peterson.
Cousin Sal gnaws on Doug Peterson.
Destroyed. Doug Peterson destroyed by Cousin Sal. Next. Stroud threw for 345 yards. So I'm feeling like I'm back in on my passing titles bet.
I didn't realize it was that big. Yeah.
With that said, something is off with Texans, and I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
It's like they can't just put together an hour of good offensive football. They could do little spurts. There's flashes. It
Yeah.
just looks a little discombobulated. Sometimes it looks like they can't block. I know they've had some injuries on their
Didn't
offensive
you
line,
go
but
over? I think you dissected last year every team and how many were good wins and how many were close wins and how many like
right,
they kind of won ugly last year. Like he
they
looked
did.
great, Stroud, a
Easy
bunch
schedule
like
too.
oh my yeah. But this is kind of how they did it.
Hmm.
And then they came alive in the playoffs a little too.
Well, the Jags for the season, they've had 44 third downs. Do you want to guess how many they've gotten? 44
44.
third down.
Oh, attempt.
44
Third.
chances to
Oh,
convert a
third down.
third down.
-4. No, I don't know. I'll say 16.
11.
Is it 11? Yeah.
They're 11
Jesus.
for 44 on third down. Today in our keeper league, where we start two quarterbacks, I
Mhm.
started Andy Dalton over Trevor Lawrence. That's how far it sunk. Before the year, I bet on him to have 4,000 passing yards. Today, I started Andy Dalton over him, and it was the right move. He had more fantasy points than them.
Didn't he
Last
used to
own
take
for
off more? Didn't he used to run more? He had like 3 runs, and one of them, I don't even think any were designed. He had 3 runs for 5 yards.
one thing I noticed with him, his passes like sail.
Yeah.
Everybody, they're either just flying over somebody's head or somebody's jumping up to catch them.
Mhm.
They're never like here or never here. They're always like above. But
Yeah.
and I also thought like it seems like he should be a better athlete than he is. He's like a little closer to Drew Bledsoe than maybe
Mhm.
it seems like he should be because he seems athletic, but I'm not
Yeah.
positive he
And
is.
also, what's with the hair? Get that shit cut.
Maybe that should be what he does is just crew cut it to show that he's signed that
Worked
he's
for Joe Burrow until he won after a month.
only 0-4 team to make the playoffs. There's only been one ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The New York Giants.
No, but it does seem like something that Eli Manning would have been the only
Right.
person to do,
Yeah.
right?
Who could
Like
it be?
today, Bo Nix had that 60 yards and a win. It was like the
Yeah.
last person to have that low yards was Eli Manning in
We know.
2007. He won a game throwing 59 yards. I'm like, of course.
Right.
Whatever the worst thing a quarterback can do and somehow get a win, Eli probably has it. Bill Simmons eviscerates Eli
It's
Manning.
more eviscerating. My God. This is
We're
some
just
list.
eviscerating everybody. So it was the 1992 San Diego Chargers,
Hmm.
coached by Bobby Ross. They started out 0-4. They finished 11-5. Marion Butts was their best running back.
Yeah.
The great Stan Humphries, the quarterback. And let's see who they had for Anthony Miller. Did you have him in fantasy
Oh,
that year?
yeah. Yeah. 81. Number
1060?
11. Yeah. Number 81.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a young Sean Jefferson.
Wait, hold on. Now this is driving me crazy. But what was the nickname for Marion? But what was Boomer's nickname for Marion Butts? What the hell was it? Somebody,
Marion smoked too many butts.
someone, if someone's on YouTube, throw it
Marion,
in the
I like
comments.
big butts.
what, what was it?
I don't know.
Oh, I gotta look.
The
I know
92
he would
Chargers.
do sound. He would do a lot of sound effects, but
I will say for the younger people listening,
yeah.
the old days were really fun betting against bad quarterbacks. Where you'd be like,
Mhm.
"Oh man, I can't wait to bet against Stan Humphries," and you just knew he would
Yeah.
suck.
Billy Joe
Now it's like
Tolliver.
I never
Yeah.
know what quarterbacks. We don't have reliable, sucky quarterbacks anymore. Maybe we have Will Levis.
You know what?
That's it.
I apologize for the distraction there. I was confusing him with Natron Means because Natron means business.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I love
I
that
mixed
one.
them up.
What would the best one ever was Eric sleeping with B enemy.
Oh, that was
Eric
good. Yeah.
sleeping with B enemy.
Yeah.
Okay, Colts Steelers is the last one we got to talk about. This was an everything goes wrong for Pittsburgh game, and they almost
Yeah.
won. And you knew
Mhm.
right away. It was like, oh, it's gonna be one of these games. Richardson just chucks it up, 40-yard pass to start the game. It's like, oh, here we go. And then the
You love
Pittsburgh
this was
turns
one
it
of
over
your
on downs.
$1 million. You loved it, right? You weren't scared by the 2.5. Like I said, this was the rattiest of rats. I think the
Well,
Steelers line is almost always a
I
rat
wanted
line.
the Pittsburgh D against Richardson, and
Yeah.
he lasted half a quarter, and then all of a sudden Joe Flacco was in. I didn't want to
I
bet
know.
against Joe Flacco.
He's
Joe
so
Flacco is
good.
terrifying.
He's so good.
They had
Don't it?
they were eight for 15 on third down, and in the down the stretch when they're trying to get stops,
Mm-hmm.
Flacco hit two third and tens. But the reality is, Fitzpatrick, worst call of the day. He's
Yeah,
running
that was
over
really bad.
to break up a pass. It's over the guy's head, and he's running full speed. Can't really stop. Holds up, hits the guy. They call it late hit anyway. Keeps the
They
drive
got to
going.
stop with that. Yeah.
And then Fields, somehow the Steelers get it. They're down 3. They have the ball with 3 minutes left. They're on like the 40. We're like, holy shit, they're gonna fucking tie this and win in overtime. The Steelers are gonna be 4-0, baby. Let's go. And then Fields, I forgot he hadn't had it yet. His weekly, I had no idea the shotgun snap was coming. And he's looking over and the ball hits him in the side of the head, which he tries to do once a game. And I actually
Mm-hmm.
like Fields and enjoy watching him and enjoy rooting for him. But for some reason that happens once a game. And of course it happened there. And now it's second 22 and they end up, that was it. But
And then the fumble. I mean, it was an inexplicable fumble, right? He was like down
right.
and then somehow got back to all fours and
Yeah.
fumbled.
And
That's
then
the
the
only
guy
way
hit
he
it
was going to
out.
get it. Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
dumb. I don't think that Colts team's good. One thing I will say with them though is Downs came back and made a couple of big plays for them. Their
Yeah.
slot receiver who they missed for the first couple weeks, but I thought, and Pittman got going, and it seems like their receivers fell into place.
Yeah. When I was looking at all the, and we do the pregame show and everything. And I think like House or somebody said had like Richardson over 14 and a half completions. I'm like 14 and a half completions. What is the Steelers? This should be so easy. Why is this
Yeah,
2.5? And, sure enough, we figured out why it was 2.5. Just
it
so
was a
weird. I
rat.
guess
We
just
call it a rat line.
some weeks the defense isn't going to travel. I hope next week's one of them.
Bears beat the Rams 24-18. Not a lot to say about that game. 49ers beat the Pats. Bengals beat the Panthers since his first win. Whatever. Raiders beat the Browns, two teams that will not be playing in week 19.
That was
Cleveland is now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Cleveland's 11 for 53 on third down.
Jesus. Those are Jaguar
That's like
numbers.
impossible.
Yeah. And he wasn't even awful, like historically awful. I'm like, oh, he's 21 for 25. At one point I looked, Watson was 21 for 25 and like 134 yards.
Yeah,
I'm like,
for,
all right, I remember
for 40
21
yards.
for 25 used to put you like to 240. I just have to get used to seeing it at 135. But all week, me, you, and House were like, we got to take the Raiders, and like, all right, I'll see your Max Crosby, Devontae Adams injury and raise you the entire Browns offensive line sitting out. So this was a stay away of all stayaways.
I want $1 million picks. I really kind of wanted to take the Raiders. House talked me out of it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take the Bears. House talked me out of that. And I like the Broncos, and we both talked ourselves out of that. But next week I'm picking 5 games, and that's it. We're going to do Guess the Lines. We're going to take a break. And then I have one other important question before we do Guess the Lines, but let's take a break for the podcast.
All right.
Coming back. All right. Off that Niners Pats game. So I watched the Pats game with nephew Kyle, and we're just so ready for Drake May. And I know it's wrong. And I know putting a young quarterback behind a line that isn't that great probably isn't a good idea, but Brissett's so bad, and he seems like a great guy. Supposedly he's going to be a coach someday, but he can't move. He can't throw the ball deep. And I actually think the game was pretty winnable today. If they'd had a quarterback, like if they'd had Flacco, I actually think that game would have come down to like the final 2 minutes. If they'd had a quarterback who was young and could move around, there was ways to do that, but Brissett's so freaking slow, he can't. And we're watching it going, man, is it worth it just throwing Drake out for the second half? Because maybe he can create some stuff with his legs. And that it's this big divisive thing with Patriots fans now, because other Pats fans are like, and I was like this 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's like, it's not worth it. You don't want to have a Zach Wilson situation. You don't want to put unnecessary miles on him. But I'm watching these games thinking like, it's probably better for him to be out there and make, like, Caleb is under duress the whole time too. Right. And I feel like he's getting better every week. I think he should play next week against Miami. I want to see him play next week against Miami is my point.
Well, this is what you said, right? Didn't we say can't throw him at San Francisco, especially after the 49ers lost? You weren't going to do that. The home game for Miami was always what you kind of thought, right?
Well, here's what's changed. The Pats are awful.
Oh,
They're the worst team in the league.
more eviscerating. So sad.
They're the worst team in the league. Who's worse than the
Worst team.
Patriots? Yeah, who's
Really?
worse? Who's worse?
Oh man.
They
I mean, you
stink.
said you said he can't move and he can't throw downfield. Like that puts him in the top 20 right away.
We have
He's good enough.
46 points in 4 games, and that includes Sly hitting a 63-yard field goal today. Because apparently
Mhm.
everybody can do that now. Tom Dempsey did it when we were kids,
All right.
and that became and there
Yeah,
were
like an
like NFL
anvil in the
films
shoe.
things about it, and, and
Yeah.
I felt like I knew Tom Dempsey.
Right.
And now it happens every 2 weeks. But we have 46 points in 4 games, and we've scored 4 touchdowns. And our defense isn't very good either.
Tennessee's very bad. Cleveland's very bad.
I think we're
I
worse
can
than
go
Cleveland.
on. Really? All those
Yeah.
teams, huh? Carolina could
Kyle
still
took his
end up with
jersey
3
off
wins.
today. He didn't even
You
want to wear
did?
it in the second quarter. He just whipped it off. Yeah.
Kyle, did you have anything underneath at least?
No, he had a shirt underneath. I
Oh,
was
okay.
relieved.
All right.
When I saw it coming off, I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be like when I go to a Raiders game. Guys are just shirtless.
All right.
But he had a
Start
t-shirt
fighting.
under there. No, they're terrible. They're terrible. And a lot of it has to do with, some of the draft classes Belichick had. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they didn't spend money in the free agency and try to get a couple blue chippers, pink chippers, red chippers, any chippers.
So
They
is that
just
the
sat on
outlier
50
game?
million.
You said it was Baltimore, Las Vegas. Is it Cincinnati, New England?
I would say yes, except doesn't Cincinnati lose in week 1 every year? So can it be an outlier if they're just destined to
Well,
lose
yeah,
every year in
that's a
week
good point.
1?
That's a good point. I'm just trying to think of how many wins each team ends up with. Is there a greater discrepancy than the other game, Raiders, Ravens?
Kyle,
Listen, you
can you
knew you were
come
going to
on?
lose to the
Can Kyle
49ers.
come on the YouTube
I'll
live
get
or
in here.
no?
If he puts a
Kyle?
shirt on, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kyle, you want to see Drake May, right?
Oh, take
Well, I
that
think
out.
we've sworn before in the live.
Yeah. We've
Yeah,
eviscerated.
Kyle's
we've
ready.
sworn.
Kyle wants hope. He just wants the 4 or 5 Drake May plays where he created something with his legs. He threw it downfield. Brissett can't throw it downfield. It's like surprising when he throws it downfield. He's just not a starting
Yeah.
quarterback. Again, seems like a sweetheart of a guy, but I don't think he's a starting quarterback.
I'm with you.
So
It's just so funny because there are a lot of quarterbacks that just don't throw downfield. There's just so many. I'm almost not phased by it anymore.
guess the lines week 5. I'm up 2-1 with a tie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We have some buys this week.
Yeah. The first, who is it? Detroit, Chargers, Philly, Tennessee.
Chargers needed the buy.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee might need the buy after. Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. And then
Yeah.
the Eagles might be using the buy to get rid of their coach.
Oh. Why
How
doesn't
funny would it
FanDuel put
be?
that up? Why don't they put the odds up? Like
The first
it's
coach
too
fired.
negative.
I don't think.
Yeah, what? Who
FanDuel's a
cares?
positive company. They stand
Why?
for
But you could bet how
positivity.
many interceptions a quarterback has. What's the difference? You could
They
bet
should
who's
have
going to
that.
come in last place in the beginning of the year.
I was thinking how funny it would be if Belichick just was the Eagles coach in like 2 days and all of his media jobs that he had. It was just like, all right, he had to leave this one and this one's out and this one's also
No, he
gone.
still
And
does them. He does everything. He keeps the jobs and coaches.
they just or they hire like Daryl Hammond to play Belichick and just yeah, he's gone.
That's a pretty good Belichick.
Well, yeah, CJ Stroud is just he's just fantastic at looking downfield. There's nobody better. Thursday night, we're going back to Atlanta. I love that they wore the Dirty Bird jerseys today. Those
Yeah,
were
pretty
so
cool.
those black. I saw they were wearing those, and I actually ended up throwing them in a tease because I got excited.
Because of that? Wow.
Yeah, I was like, I can't see them losing with those, but
All right, it worked.
Falcons home for the Bucks. This is
Mhm.
good for my NFC South bet. Only one team can win.
It's gonna be a tie.
A tie would be the best. If I get a tie,
Oh,
like
that's right.
to
You
get a
have under.
0,
Right.
that'd be great. I had a lot of trouble this one. I ended up with because it's Thursday. I bumped it up a point to Falcons -2.5.
I had trouble too because I have no idea what they're wearing for this one, so I almost
Fair.
passed on it. And good cheating. You have it exactly. It's 2.5. I said 1.
I think they're adding a point for Thursdays.
Adding
home
1.
team.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of 1.5 point advantage,
I have
you're
no
now
idea
at
if they're
2.
actually doing it, but I just assume I think there's a home field something on Thursdays because it's 4 days after the
Uh,
last games and it
yeah,
sucks
maybe,
and travel and
maybe.
Sunday marquee game. Um, you could either go Vikings Jets or Bills Texans. What's a
Well, you
bigger
want to
game
knock
for
that
you?
out because that's the London game, Jets and Vikings.
Good point.
You can't start over.
So that
We're
can't
live,
be
bitch.
that can't be the Sunday marquee game because I
You're
should have
right.
put that in the London category.
Yeah. Well, it could be marquee. It's,
So Bills Texans is the London game.
no, no, no.
Vikings
The
Jets is the London game.
Vikings Jets. Yeah. You're screwing me up. Yeah. Vikings technically home.
Vikings by 3.
All right. That's what I said. It's 2.5.
Ah, I wonder if that was in Minnesota. What do you think the line is?
It's got to be 4 or a little north of 4, right?
Yeah, I would say 4.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is where I am emotionally. As you know, I told you I
Tell me.
wasn't going to be betting on Thursday games or games in weird countries this year. Not that
Mm-hmm.
London's a weird country. I actually like London. Um, I really want to bet the Vikings in this game. After watching Rodgers today and seeing how much trouble he had moving, and then watching that Vikings defense, I think this is a really tough spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're going to be coming at him, blitzes, all kinds of shit, just trying to make it go uncomfortable. I got to be honest, I don't think he wants to be hit anymore. And we've seen quarterbacks get to this point. Brady got to this point the last couple of years of his career where it was like, you knew it was a big game because he started taking hits. Drew Brees got to that point. I don't think Rodgers wants to be hit like that anymore. And I thought he bailed out of some plays in the last part of the game, the quarter and a half I watched, but he was just his process is just a little faster. He's not waiting that extra second anymore. This Vikings team's a nightmare for him.
I'm with you. If I'm taking anyone, it's the Vikings, right? But
Yeah,
this is the NFL, right? Like this is where
right.
you
It
get
looks
screwed
too
up.
easy.
And the one thing I'll say about Rodgers, if you worry about him bouncing back on 3 days rest, I know it was against the Patriots. You're going to go into how bad they were, but he did do it against the Pats a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But you're right. He looks like he had that look like, what the hell have I done here coming back? And also now he's going at it with Salah about the cadence. Salah doesn't like some of his cadences apparently,
Yeah.
and that of course got out immediately. So good times.
that couldn't have gotten out faster.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go for the traditional Sunday marquee game, Bills Texans.
Yeah.
Pretty good game. Josh Allen against CJ Stroud.
Good one.
It's in Houston. And I have the Bills -1.5.
Damn it. You got it. I had Bills by 1. I really wanted
Hmm.
to get that one from you, Simmons. I gotta be honest. All right. Both 3-1.
This is the leading candidate for the overreaction game of week 5. Because I could see the Texans doing really well.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, remember when we thought we gave Josh Allen the MVP after 3 games and we wrote off Houston? Now Houston's got their shit together. Or the other way where the Bills look good and now we're concerned with Houston. The Bills are fine. The Ravens game was weird. Josh is the MVP favorite again. There will be an
Yeah.
overreaction.
Well, you understand the entire middle of their defense is susceptible to anything you want to
Right.
do.
Any part.
Run, pass,
Circle
whatever.
any part of the
If you want
field.
to
They're
punt in
susceptible.
there, good. Yeah, you're good.
One watchable Ravens at Cincinnati. The
Mhm.
Ravens are certainly going to be favored after what happened today. I have Ravens -2.5.
All right, I get this. Yeah, I had it exactly actually 1.5. Ravens are favored. That's going to be my default guess, I think, on a lot of for now on. 1.5 sounds good.
I actually put that down a bunch because it just
Yeah.
seems like that's the line over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Bengals home dog. We're gonna have a week where some of these home dogs just start crushing. Fairly watchables. I have to put Pat's Dolphins on here because I think we're getting Drake May.
Oh yeah.
And that might even arguably make it a watchable. Drake May's first start. Kyle noticed in the game today, they were showing him on the sidelines a lot more in the first half.
Yeah.
They kept like just showing him on the headset. There he is. This could be his last time in the sidelines.
Could we call this a wearable? Like Kyle wears his jersey for this? Is it a
I
wearable?
don't know if he has a Drake May jersey yet.
Well, just does he take? I mean, does he like?
Does he actually wear a jersey? Oh,
Yeah.
if Drake May is playing, Kyle will have the jersey on.
Okay.
Yeah, he will. So I don't see any scenario where the Pats could be favored in this game, no matter who the quarterback is, even though I know who the Dolphins are going to probably have Huntley.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the Pats can be favored. So I'm going to have the Dolphins by 1.
All right, you're gonna get it. I mean, this is where I should have got 1.5. I said 2.5. It is Dolphins by 1.5. So you're closer.
That's another 1.5.
4-2.
You know what's
Yep.
going to ruin guess the lines if every line is 1.5?
I could tell you if it is or isn't, but I don't
Well,
want to
by the way,
screw this up.
our next game, I guessed 1.5. It is Jaguars at home against the Colts. Jaguars 0-4, and somehow I think they're going to be favored. I have Jaguars by 1.5.
All right, I got this exactly. It's 3. Jaguars are a 3-point favorite.
Nah, that's too high.
They're clearly on the kitchen sink. He needs his
You would have
passport
said that
renewed.
this week.
I know. It's 3 kitchen sinks in a row.
No 0-4 teams made the playoffs in 32 years.
Yeah. But is it Flacco? I mean, it's looking like Flacco against Lawrence. I guess that's better for the Colts.
The Richardson hit looked bad today because
Yeah.
it hit him in his hip and he went down. I was like, oh, fucking A. This guy got hurt again. And then he came back in
The
and
next
they
one
ran
was
a little
bad.
bootleg play for him.
Yeah.
And he went down before he got hit because it seemed like
Right.
his hit. So I don't know. I didn't, this would be his third injury. So
I
I
know. It's
guess
tough to watch.
monitor
It's tough
that
to
one.
watch. Let me ask you this. I was going to save this.
Yeah.
If Flacco, I don't know how you feel about him with the Hall of Fame, not making it in your head right now. But if he takes the Colts to the playoffs, if they snuck in at like 9-8,
Yeah.
I kind of think he may have my vote. I'll have to look at the class coming in and everything. But for God's sakes, if he takes the Browns and the Colts
So
to the
this is the
playoffs.
Derrick Rose argument in the NBA now. Derrick
Oh,
Rose won the
Jesus.
MVP in 2011.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Everyone who's ever won the MVP is in the Hall of Fame, and Rose has a chance to be the first guy who didn't make it. And
Yeah.
he's not a Hall of Famer, but the MVP thing might be able to sway it. Flacco, the run he had, which was the greatest 4-round run any quarterbacks had in the playoffs,
Right.
combined with some of the other stuff, you could argue he's at least in the conversation. I mean,
And
he had
then to take the
I would say he had a
Colts
better
and the
career than Eli
Browns?
Manning,
Yeah.
but Eli had those 2 postseasons and he made it.
I know. Take him to. Let's see what happens, Joe. Come on, we're not eviscerating you. Take the Colts to the playoffs.
It's an anti-evisceration.
Right.
49ers are home for the Cardinals. And before the late games today, I guess 49ers by 4. And after that, I switched it to 49ers by 6.5 at home against the Cardinals.
Dirtbag. You sure you don't want to switch it back? Because
I
a
don't.
lot of times your first impression.
I don't. I
I
moved
said
it 2 points, which I never do.
Yeah, that was way off. And I said 5 at 7.5. So you get that.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that's
well, this is where the Cardinals thrive.
Yeah, right.
They're like, oh my
This is where they
God,
wanna be.
we're huge underdogs and there's a backdoor cover possibly. Great. Washington's home for the Browns. It's going to be a big Jaden Daniels fest all week. They're going to be replaying Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston getting mad at the offensive tackle all week and talking about what do they do? Do they have any outs? I think I squeezed this to 3. Washington by 3 at home against Cleveland. I wanted to go 2.5, but I think it's 3.
Wanted to steal this from you. I have exactly 3, and it is exactly 3.
It's fair
And
line.
really, you think it's fair? No, because I wrote 3.
Does that get to 3.5? Is my question.
I'm gonna stick with it, but I mean, who's betting Cleveland here? Who's betting them? Do they score? Does Cleveland score 27 points?
So you had Cleveland in the playoffs, and they're 1-3.
Yeah, I know. We don't have to go.
And I wrote down because they're weeks 11 through 18 are an absolute gauntlet. And I wrote down in my notes before the year they'd have to go 4-1 in their first 5 games.
Did they
to make the playoffs?
Right?
And they're 1-3. So are you out on that?
It's close. Yeah. I think I'm out, but I swear I would like to see Jameis. I'd like to see what they did. We talked about how admitting defeat with this dumb signing.
Yeah.
But
come up with a fake injury to save face. Just keep going.
Yeah, sure. I'm out with it. Yeah. But I'm
obviously out on the Jaguars. Jaguars was they're going 10-7. They're
out
going
on
to
them
be
too.
Possible 5 seed. I've disowned them. You're
Yep.
still not holding out hope on the Raiders?
I am a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay.
Someone has to sneak in there.
Poop Fecta. Bears at home for the Panthers. So the Bears are favored by 3 against the depleted Rams this week, and I added a half point, made it Bears minus 3.5 for the Panthers.
Something happened here because it was 3.5 at kickoff of the late game tonight. And it went to 4.5. I get it. I said 4.
Okay.
I swear that all this went on.
I believe you.
I don't know what happened. Is there an injury? Is there
Maybe people realize the Panthers aren't good and
is another redhead
have a
coming
terrible
in?
defense.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Broncos are home for the Raiders. And this is a terrible game. I hope I don't have to watch too much of it. I have the Broncos favored by 1.5.
Wow, you got it. 1.5 is sweet. I
Yeah.
went the other way. I thought the Raiders would be favored. I thought Denver would be suffering from what you said about Arizona. Like, thanks, but no thanks. We're not ready to be favored. But I guess it doesn't work like that.
I wonder if Devontae Adams, does his hamstring just kind of hurt until they trade him? So one of those.
It's
Like,
looking
how's the
like it.
hamstring this week? I don't know. Still hurts.
Smart.
Can't really push off it. Just kind of waiting. Who's the team? Could it be KC? Would those two teams trade together?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is it still about going to the Jets and playing with Aaron Rodgers?
Listen,
That
that's
ain't
not what the
great.
Jets need.
Right.
I mean, they
I
can't even
know.
get the ball to Garrett Wilson. I don't know if
Oh,
Devontae
KC,
Adams
that
is
would be
helping
big.
them. I
KC,
don't know if KC could fit him.
he
Who
would
else?
heal
Who
in
else needs a
no time.
receiver that is in the running?
Um,
Buffalo has all the cap stuff. They can't really do it. Maybe the Chargers,
Cowboys won't have enough money. I'm being selfish.
Commanders.
Bengals don't need
I don't know who they're
Commanders.
trading him to.
I think you're
It's
kind of
probably
like
your
screwing
dumb
with their
team. It's like the
chemistry. It
Cowboys
is
have
my
traded
team.
for Devontae Adams
Yeah,
out of nowhere. Okay.
I don't know.
See,
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm looking at the slate. I'm not sure.
Steelers.
Oh yeah,
Steelers
Steelers
will
are
want
good.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah. Seahawks are home for the Giants. This I have as one of the highest lines of the week. I have Seahawks minus 6.
I had it exactly. I swear, 5.5.
Who's
1,
winning?
2, 3, 6. You were up 7-6.
I
How
really
many
want to win
left?
these last two so I could eviscerate you.
Wait, there's three left, right?
3 left.
Do you do Green Bay Rams?
Boy. Oh,
You
I
lose
don't
if you
have
didn't
Green
do it.
Bay
You lose that one.
Rams.
Well, you
Do I
lose that
lose
one.
that? Where's that game? That didn't make my
I
notes.
should just lie to you.
Is that an automatic loss for me?
It's out here. It's in LA. No, of course you could guess. And
Must
I
have
mean,
something got
could I bet that you're going to hit this exactly now?
Green
Green
Bay
Bay at the
Rams.
Rams.
I'm going to put this in the fairly watchables.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have the Packers favored, and just for hilarity's sake, Packers by 1.5.
All right. Well, we tie on that then, because I did have 1.5. It's 3.5. That's big.
Oh my God.
It's a big number. Did the Rams
I
have
didn't
any
think their
more
defense
injuries
looked good today.
You didn't
They
think
did.
the Rams defense looked good? I mean, neither one looked good.
No.
Yeah.
Rams do not look good. Sunday night, your stupid team
You're going to win here.
playing Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. So I think the line should be 3.5, but I guess 3 because I think people will bet Dallas. So I have Steelers by 3.
Oh, that's crazy because I had Dallas by 1 and it's Steelers by 1.5. So you do get it. But it seems like you were off more than I was. I guess you weren't.
Well, yeah, you picked the wrong team to be favored. I would argue you
When
were
does
more
that
off.
matter? Why should that matter? You
I
really
think
don't
this
think
line goes to 2.5.
am I it's Sunday night, but I feel like I'm maybe outrageously optimistic a little bit here. Because my thing with the Steelers now is, can you score 20?
Well, the running backs are banged up. That was the big. They didn't have Jalen Warren today. Patterson was really good in the first hour and a half of the game. Then he got hurt. It was just Najee Harris. That's it. So, and they're missing. They have some offensive line injuries. So you're catching them on a good week.
I don't care if they have Jerome Bettis. I don't care. I don't care if they have Natron refried means in there. It doesn't matter. That's from our producer, Jack Wilson. He texted me. That was another one.
Refried means?
refried meat, natron means. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but isn't that going to be the thing with the Steelers every week? Score 20.
Yeah, get to 20. Good
Easier said
matchup.
than done.
Fun matchup. Good to see the uniforms again. Brings back a
It
lot of
is.
memories.
I
All right,
think there
Monday
were some
night.
Super Bowls there. Yep.
Monday night Chiefs Saints.
So you
Just
won.
automatically has to be thrown into the Vegas zone. And I did. I just went straight middle of the Vegas zone. Chiefs by 5 at home against the Saints.
You get it. I said 4.5. It's 5.5.
No, that's stupid. This will go down.
You win 10-7. Shit.
3 weeks in a row for me.
How am I getting worse than this? Put me down for 1.5 for everything. I'm blind betting everything next week. 1.5. I don't know which side.
Even if it was Niners Pats, you're going 1.5.
Yep. I don't care.
All right, let's do parent corner.
Before we do parent corner, we just got a text from our cousin and David Chang.
Yeah.
Look, first of all, guess what it's about? Based on what happened of your various podcasts this week, you're reading it?
Oh, Bianco is taking the pizza take personally, the pizza
Yes.
1.0.
Yeah.
But he knows I love Bianco pizza.
I know, but whatever was cut out for the internet basically says that I'm sick of these fancy pizzas. And I thought of like
I wanted room for both. Oh no, Bianco's Italian. I got to make up for it. I might end up dead.
Yeah, you're in trouble, man. He's going to be hosting Guess the Lines with me next week.
Oh Jesus. Bianco's the nicest guy on the planet.
He's the best. And you said,
man.
and you love the Rosa pizza. So why?
I've been there 9 times this year. It's nothing against. I'm just saying in general. I want.
What was your take in general? You want to go back to the regular slices?
I still like the 1.0 version of pizza too. That was my take. I like pizza. I like cheese and sauce.
Okay.
And I like the big triangle slices. And
yeah,
I still like that too.
You could get that. You could get that, but it's nice. You can get anything you want. Why is
that was my point. I just said we've as a country, we're just moving toward pizza 2.0 because it's like cooler, but I want room for the pizza 1.0 too.
Well, the good news is you admitted that you don't eat the crust, so you're completely disqualified from any pizza.
The crust has to hold the pizza. Come on.
All right. Just keep going. I can't do this. So
parent corner. What do you got?
Parent corner. I feel like I'm your father. That should be the parent corner. All right. So last week while we were doing the podcast, my wife came home. She had dropped my son Archie off at college, right? So she got him set up in his apartment. I have football stuff to do. And it's also the second year I don't need to go. Only one of us needs to go. So I'm done with the podcast. I go upstairs and my middle kid, Jack Romo, says, "Hey, mom went into Archie's room, probably to collect like 11 wet towels or something. And she walked out crying." And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus." I was like, "What?"
Did she found Diddy's 1,000 bottles of lube?
Yeah, there was a lot of oil from Costco. No, nothing even like that. She just misses it. And I was like, "Well, what'd you say to her?"
Oh.
He's like, I said, well, "Mom, why are you upset? It's not like he died." And I was like, "Fucking perfect. That's right. That's exactly right. That's what you should put it. Yeah. Like, what is it? Stand by me? Ordinary people? Like, come on. Let's, he's in a good place. He's with friends. He's growing up. It's the second year. So then the next morning I say to him, I'm like, "Hey, listen, I think it makes the others feel bad. Like they're not good enough. If you're going to come out crying and it's like, this is what I'm left with." And she's like, "Oh, that's crazy. Don't talk like that." That's, I was like, "No, I just want her to stop crying." Right. I was like, "No, I really think it does make them feel bad when you see it like that." So she then has a conversation with them later that night and says, "I just want you to know, boys, this has nothing to do with you." And they're like, "Huh? I don't know. We never said it had it." I forgot to go to them and tell them what I was doing. I forgot that part of the whole thing.
It became a Three's Company episode.
It became a Three's Company. A lot of Mr. Furley with the glass.
Mr. Furley was like, "Wait, what happened?"
Making faces. So she's all pissed at me. And she's like, "You made this whole thing up and now this is bad. And I shouldn't even brought it up to them." And I was like, "All right, leave me alone. I have to go make losing teasers with the Bills. So I'm never getting involved in something like this."
Can we go back to your wife? It's like she's on the Hallmark Channel. She just goes into Archie's room and starts sobbing. It's like, are the credits playing? What's happening?
It's crazy. Yeah.
Like a Fleetwood Mac song in the background.
What goes on? Try betting football. Life gets hard.
She sounds like she needs some parlays.
Yeah. She
Okay.
needs some pizza 2.0 is what she needs.
So my birthday was on Wednesday, which I didn't
Mm.
realize until I was on Instagram, was also National Daughter Day.
Oh,
If you have a daughter, and I knew this because on Instagram, a couple friends I had did these gushy Instagram posts with their daughter and wished their daughter a happy National Daughters Day. And I
mhm.
was enraged because, first of all, where did this come from? When did we decide this was a day? Right.
Yeah.
I always thought like my daughter's birthday was the day we celebrated or Christmas. Like they basically
Plenty.
get 2 days, but they
Hmm.
really get 365 days. Like we're always there for our kids and every day
Hmm.
is National Daughters Day. But somehow that's now a day. And I don't want to call it any of our friends, but our friend Shrifty had this really nice Instagram photo with his arms around his two daughters, including
Uh,
one of the daughters rooms with my daughter in college.
right.
And now I'm like, all right, so now my daughter's going to see this, but I don't do the National Daughters Day post. And now I'm an asshole, right? I don't care because I didn't do an Instagram post because that's what that whole generation they they calculate who likes or loves them depending on what
Right.
if somebody does social media post or somebody put on comments, they put a picture up and of themselves wearing a dress going out to a party, and then somebody underneath in the comments goes, "Gorgeous, I
Hmm.
love you, 5 hearts," and that's just the
Yes,
society
Queen.
we've created.
Yep.
So I was really mad about Daughter's Day. I decided not to do a post. My daughter never mentioned it to me, so maybe she didn't care. But then it got me thinking like about like what days are out there because I've seen National Dog Day too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
National Dog Day is August 26th.
Hmm.
And my wife, when that happened, was like, "You should do a post for National Dog Day about Murph." And I'm like, "I'm definitely not doing that." So there's a National Son and Daughter Day is August 11th.
Oh,
That's if
come
you have a
on.
son and a daughter. Oh yeah. Um, Son's Day is today,
Yeah,
or
right.
maybe
It
it
was
was
like,
yesterday. It was
yeah,
September
yesterday.
28th.
Yeah.
Um, that's National Sons Day.
Well, you
So
couldn't do
did you
anything
do a
there.
post for National Sons Day
I
or no?
didn't. I honestly, I looked at you and I looked at Jim. I looked at a few, and I also weighed like who's going to get insulted. Like that's kind of the thing, right? Who's going to get insulted? And I figured nobody will. So I didn't post.
Well, I'll just tell you, National Boss Day is November 6th or October 16th.
All right. I'll hit you up.
Nobody make a post for me about Boss Day.
Oh,
Anybody
now
that
you're
works
getting
for
a
the
bunch.
Ringer, I don't want to post. I
Oh,
don't
you're
care
getting a
that it's
bunch
National
now.
Boss Day. But I went through and there, I was looking at some of the other national days. Apparently, you can like have a day and like push for it. Like January 19th is National Popcorn Day.
Mm,
January 31st is National Hot Chocolate Day. March 14th is National Potato Chip Day.
yeah.
April 11th is National Pet Day. April 12th is National Grilled Cheese Day. And you just go through and you're like, what? When did this start? Is this
And
just
don't
social
worry, don't
related?
worry
What
about
is
running out
this?
of days either, because there could be a day that has like three. It could be potato chip day. It could be friends and love day. It could be aunt favorite aunt day. Right? It's like, yeah, you can't keep track of this stuff anymore.
The fourth Sunday in July is National Parents Day, but we've already had Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Oh, did
Figure
Zoe
that one
do
out.
anything for you for National Parents Day?
August, no.
Yeah, of
August 1st
course.
is National Girlfriend's Day.
That's a good one. Can't forget that one.
And then this was the one, this drove me to a tizzy. And this is really why I want to do this. August 8th is National Pickleball Day. So
Ah,
we're taking
Jesus.
probably two of the things I hate the most: pickleball and just meaningless national days that people can do
Right.
social media posts. And now we've combined them on August 8th.
Hmm.
That's my new least favorite day, August 8th. That day sucks. I'm out. I might leave the country on August 8th, National
Wait a minute.
Pickleball Day.
I found one you might hate more. October
Yeah.
1st, which is tomorrow, is only eat the crust and pizza day.
It's crust day. It's
Yeah, it's
actually National
only
Pumpkin
crust.
Spice Day.
Oh, same difference. All right.
October 26th is National Pumpkin Day. November 11th is National Sunday Day. And that's 6 days after National Donut Day. So
Wow.
they just want us to get fat because winter's coming. And
Yeah.
it just goes on and on. And I don't understand how we got here. So,
How do we get out? That is the
well,
thing.
here's how we get out. I'm not doing posts for National Daughter Day and National
Yeah.
Sunday. I'm just not. I'm just
Hmm.
not doing it.
Remember when Jimmy did a National Unfriend Day? for Facebook. Like that was an anti-hero
Yeah,
move.
that
That
was
was just
good. Yeah,
get
maybe
rid
we
of
need
some
more
friends.
negative days. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we need
National
to
Stop
eviscerate some
Following a
of these
Thousand People
days.
Day. Yeah,
Yeah,
National Evisceration Day.
yeah,
That'd
great.
be great. All right, that's Parent Corner. What do you got to plug, Sal?
Well, through the Ringer with Tate, me and Tate's always a good time against all odds, a couple times a week on the Ringer Podcast Network. Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend on Friday, FanDuel TV, and the Ringer with Phil Sims this week, and the Ringer pregame show every Sunday morning. We're
Great
going to be
show.
up against that London game
Oh, what are we going to do with
this
that?
week. Well, we got it. We just plow ahead, man. People can
Well, the
watch
good
and
thing is
listen on different things. Yeah,
the London game always sucks, so we'll
yeah,
be
that's
fine.
true.
Yeah. Well,
And our picks suck too. So you'll have a good selection to choose from. One more thing, controversial, maybe as controversial as the pizza. You saying that Brian Curtis, toughest Ringer employee.
oh, crazy strength. He's Eastern
What
European.
don't I know about this? Does he know
This
some
was
Marshall shit or something?
no, this was Shea Serrano started this in the mid 2010s. It's just kept going since.
Is it a joke?
It's
or
just
is it
been
serious?
yeah, it's a running joke.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Are you raised
He
out?
just started this whole thing about how Brian Curtis was the toughest guy in the ringer, and he'd been in a bunch of street fights, and we just kind of kept going with it.
People,
You fell for
really,
it?
you sold it pretty well. You didn't
Yeah.
blow at all. That was good. People are
Yeah.
making like brackets and stuff now. They're very mad. They're like, well, I want to draw Curtis in the first round. This is terrific. Oh, I'm proud of you. Nice job.
I have to plug Rewatchables tomorrow night and the National Boss Day on October 16th. Very
Great.
excited for that. Cuz, as always, great to see you. Good job by you.
Good job by you, buddy.
That's it for our YouTube telecast. You can watch this on the YouTube channel. You can listen to the podcast, and we will see you next Sunday night. Me and the cuz. See them.